Well, hello, my lovely sugars, loaves, lads, lilies, dudes. What's going on today, my God? Let's go. What are we doing? What are we doing now? I don't know. I don't know. Well, today is the day I feel somebody's gonna win a damn hoodie. I hope. 7 chances, baby. 7 guesses total for the garden, and you win a hoodie. You win it if you guess it, but you gotta guess it. All right. You'll see what song it is. It's coming up right now, baby. Here it is, babies. Let's take a look at the winning song. All right, more documents, guys. Let's go. More documents. We are on supplement 145, taking our sweet ass time. You know it. Let's see what this one has to say. Hey, we got to keep going, babies. Got to keep going. So we got another interview here, guys. January 12th, 2023. I conducted an interview with this person at the MPD located there in Moscow, Idaho. The following is a summary of the interview. Reference the audio interview recording for full details. All right, she provided the following information. She is a student studying blank at the University of Idaho. She lives at blank apartments in Moscow. She met Brian at the blank apartments at a pool party over the summer. Prior to school starting, approximately in August 2022, Brian walked into the office at blank and looked a little lost. He came over and asked her how to get to the pool. She was wearing a sundress with a swimsuit on underneath. While they were talking, he couldn't really control where his eyes were going, if that makes sense. She said he was blatantly looking at her. Most people are more discreet. It was weird. Okay. She showed him her boobs. No, excuse me. For her small feet. No, she didn't say that. She showed him where the pool was. Get your mind out of the gutter. She showed him where the pool was. There were a lot of people there. Brian came alone and looked like he didn't know anyone. Well, yeah, but moved from group to socialize. She went out to the pool with her friend, blank, and blank's husband, blank. They noticed Brian trying to socialize, but not doing a good job of it. Well, gee, thanks for helping. So what do these people do? They just sit back and criticize people who are awkward? I guess that's what they do. They just make fun of people who don't fit in, right? Fucking little Moscow shithole town. Fuck you, Brian. I think you're too good for there. Brian made very direct eye contact with her and made a beeline towards her, and blank got up to intercept him. He had picked up blank and her were uncomfortable and a little bit weirded out by him. Okay. By Brian. And like the staring. Okay. Blank did most of the talking with Brian. It was very odd vibes. He wasn't saying anything significant, but his behavior seemed erratic. How did it seem erratic? By standing there talking? She was uncomfortable in everything, and everything was just odd. Okay. Brian said he was a law student and a teaching assistant. He was older than the average person attending the pool party. It looked like Brian had lost a lot of weight. How do you know that? How do you know that Brian lost a lot of weight? You never met him before, correct? Well, then how would you know he lost a lot of weight? I smell bullshit on this one, guys. This is the first time meeting this person, right? Well, then how do you know he lost a lot of weight? Bullshit. Bullshit. Forget this one. Okay, that was the end of that. Okay. 146. We got tip 811 interview. Okay, let's see what this one's about. Hopefully it's not a liar like that one. You're not going to know somebody lost weight if you never met him before, correct? Okay, here we go. So we got all the victims listed here? No. So we got Xana and Maddie. Witness 1, 23-year-old white male. Hayden, Idaho. Relationship acquaintance. This is okay. This is based on a tip, guys. We got a couple acquaintances here, a friend, a girlfriend. Witness 2, witness 3 is blocked out, witness 4 is blocked out. Okay, November 21st. Hey, 8 days after the event, when we still had a real investigation going on. All right, November 21st. Idaho State Police Detective Senior Detective Gary Tolson was assigned to tip 811. ISP Detective Richard Alderson and I conducted interviews into this tip, a telephone tip from blank blank, date of birth 1999. Tip 811 was telephoned in by blank, a member of this fraternity, saying he had phone contact with Xana and then saw Maddie and Kaylee at the Corner Club bar prior to the unalivings. I telephoned this person back and arranged to interview him at the Moscow Police Department on the morning of November 22nd. Detective Alderson and I met with this person, him, and interviewed him in the lobby interview room at the Moscow Police Department. This interview was recorded with blank's knowledge, with his knowledge and permission. He told us he was a blank student and was in his 5th year of college. He was also a member of this fraternity. On Saturday, November 12th, he had attended a party at the blank apartments with his girlfriend, and her girlfriend, They had spoken to Xana by telephone earlier and arranged to meet her at the apartments. Okay. After the apartment at these apartments, they had gone to the bar Mingles, which blank described as a hole in the wall. South of the corner bar in downtown Moscow. Also a shithole. They met blank's best friend, blank blank, downtown. Blank also met with her friend, blank, there. All right. She said that blank drove he and home, and he spent the night with After the blank interview, after the interview with this person, Detective Alderson and I, that was it for that, okay. Detective Alderson and I telephoned blank blank and asked if she remembered the evening of the 12th and who she was with that evening. She confirmed the evening. She also told us that roommate, blank blank, was also with them that evening. We then telephoned to get her version of the night's events. She told us the same events, but added that they had also gone to John's Alley Bar, and it was packed, so they had left and gone to Mingles. Wow. She confirmed was a roommate of She said she drove back to blank and blank's apartment. She also remembered texting this person at around 2:07 to check on her. Okay, 2:07 a.m., I guess, yeah. Okay, after talking to blank by telephone, after talking to her by telephone, I received a telephone call from who told me, from a male, who told me he had forgotten to mention his roommate, blank, 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 blank. I don't know. Anyway, this person forgot to mention his roommate, Blank told me that blank was 27 years of age and was from there. All right. Clear as mud. Clear as mud. That was it. The recorded interviews put on CD and given to Moscow for evidence. Great. The case continues. Wow. some hard-hitting investigation we got going on here, guys. Okay, moving on. What's next? 147. Okay, what's this? Another interview. After the wolf is captured. Okay, let's jump right into no, that's a summary. Okay, we got reporting party 1. Witness, reporting party 1. Unknown female. Okay. Witness, a 68-year-old white male from Genesee, Idaho. And let's see what this narrative tells us. Oh, this is six pages. Okay. February 10, 2023, at about 11:10 a.m., I spoke with this person at his residence regarding a possible sighting of Brian in the early morning following the unaliving of the 4. After advising him of the purpose of my contact, he provided the following information. He and his wife, Loretta, were the only residents at He knew all his neighbors, and he did not know of anyone named The residence is in a rural area with very few neighboring residences. The neighbors who shared his driveway were and their address was that. I confirmed this information by their mailbox and Idaho driver's license. Fine. The pond at the end of the driveway had been frozen over before the unalivings, which occurred on the 13th of of November, 22nd. What does that have to do with anything? I don't know. But I'm so glad the pond at the end of the driveway was frozen over before the unalivings. I guess that's important. Oh my God. Neither he nor blank had observed anything like what was reported in the tip. After providing blank my contact information, I left the residence. Due to the brevity of the contact, no audio recording of the conversation was made. Great. So it never happened. Good job, Idaho State Police. Well, that was interesting. Okay. Very good. Very good. Oh, we got a map. Oh, what's this? We got a map, guys. Okay. Well, that's nice. Traffic. Okay. Oh, wow. Well, look at that. Well, that's informative, isn't it? There, I guess there's the lake somewhere in there that's frozen. And we got some things blocked out there. Okay. Wow. Well, that's hard-hitting investigation there. We got a map that's worthless. All right, moving on. Oh, what's this? Oh, we got text messages. Oh, we got text messages, guys. This was a rural area. An elderly lady came forward, said she lived out there in the vicinity home alone. She had on her porch light. Her dogs were barking like crazy. She got up, looked outside, watched a man parked in her driveway out in the middle of nowhere. And then we got a reply. Okay, what's the reply? I don't know. Blank out walking around his car. She saw a man, I guess, walking around his car. She watched him a while, and he left. This was like between 4:30 and 5 a.m. So, is that Brian Koberger? Well, Brian, remember, Brian's at the house doing his thing. But it was pitch black dark. After his arrest, the pic of the car and After his arrest, the pic of the car and Brian Koberger, she reached out to authorities to say, this is the guy, this is the car that was at my place in the wee hours of the morning. I thank God. Oh, here we go. I thank God. Blank. Okay. Where did this information come from? I don't know. I believe it was on News Nation. Possibly Ashley Banfield. Okay. Okay. Blank. And that's it. Okay. Well, thank you. Wow. So, hey, what if that was Brian? Well, guess what? then he wasn't there at the house now, was he? Nope. So she seemed sure that was the guy, that was Brian, that pulled into her driveway and was probably turning around or something at 4:30 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Well, if that's the case, well, guess what? Brian wasn't at the crime scene, was he? Nope. But like every other tip they buried, that didn't favor Brian. So this makes absolutely no sense, But hey, what if that was Brian at 4:30 in the morning on her property, turning around in her driveway? Well, then guess what? He wasn't at the scene, was he? Nope. Okay. Great job, Idaho State Police, once again, for your hard-hitting investigation. Okay, moving on. Supplement 148. Tips follow-up. Oh, I can only imagine. God. Yeah, it's really pathetic, guys. It really is. This is the worst type of... you can't even call it an investigation, really. All right, here we go. What do we got? Suspect 1, Brian Kohlberger. Suspect 2, a 26-year-old male. Okay, from Moscow, Idaho. Okay, what else? Suspect 2, again, we got a 24-year-old male. We got the victims. Do we have all of them listed? Yes, all the victims are listed. We got witness 1, a 53-year-old white female. Witness 2, unknown. Witness 3, unknown. Witness 4, unknown. Witness 5, unknown. Witness 6, we got a 41-year-old person from Moscow, Idaho. Witness 7, unknown. Witness 8, from Moscow, Idaho. Witness 9, a 26-year-old from Moscow, Idaho. Relationship mother. Okay. Witness 10. Witness 11. Witness 12. Witness 13. 14 unknown. 15. 16 unknown. Witness 17. Oh my gosh. Witness 18. Witness 19. Holy crap. Witness 20. 21. And it keeps going. 22. Okay, any more? Yeah, 23. Witness 23. Yeah, that's that last. Okay, Moscow, Idaho. Good grief. Well, there better be some good information in this one. All right, let's go through the tips. Tip number 763. 69-year-old person. And this person, blank, works as a blank at the in Moscow, Idaho. She wrote several lengthy emails to the Moscow Police Department outlining her thoughts on a homeless man she had spoken to prior to the unalivings in Moscow. She said that this lengthy conversation took place out in front of her place of business next to a Coke machine, Coca-Cola, her son had placed there for money generation purposes. She believed this conversation took place on October 18th. Okay. Detective Sergeant Van Leuven, I don't know. Squeaky balls. Sorry, that's Dutch. And it is Dutch for Van Leuven. I conducted, sorry guys, that was not funny. And I conducted several lengthy interviews with this homeless person. I don't know. No. With blank, as well as other multiple interviews with persons supposedly associated with or have dealt with this homeless man. Blank. Or have dealt with this homeless man, blank, thought was possibly involved. Persons interviewed on this tip. All right, we got 5 persons interviewed on this specific tip about this homeless person. Okay, this tip also led Detective Sergeant Van, my balls, and I, Dutch again, and I to interview the owner of the business located there in Moscow, Idaho. The owner is this, date of birth 1981. And that's it. Well, that's nice. So what happened from these interviews? So what did you find out about the homeless man? I guess nothing. I don't know. Okay, let's move on to another tip. Okay. Tip number 40. Blank blank emailed Moscow Chief of Police Fry. This was assigned to Detective Lehman and me. According to a man named Blank, who lived near her, had many cats at his home. Oh my God. Sometime in the past, blank and blank spoke about the cats. She described him as being creepy and arpy. And he had been walking in. That's a nice descriptor, right? Creepy and arpy. Yeah. Let me guess, Moscow, you didn't do anything with this either. Yeah. And he had been walking in the neighborhood more than he usually does. Blank, she wrote that she was aware of blank pulling a knife on someone at the several years ago. This led us to the located there in Moscow. I telephoned the owner, blank blank. He told me he had owned this business for over 16 years, and they used to be open at night, but because of the fights and other disturbances, he was no longer open at night. He did not remember a knife incident. He did tell us he had video of the street and the grub truck where Maddie and Kaylee were seen on the night of the homicides. The blank gave Detective Lehman a thumb drive of the videos, and they were never to be seen again. Where are those videos then that shows? I'd like to know where those videos are. This person had video of the street and the grub truck where Maddie and Kaylee were last seen. I'd like to see that video. Where is that? He put it on a thumb drive. Hey guys, we ever see videos of that? Of this camera? That shows a different angle to the grub truck and what the fuck was going on there? I've never seen that video, have you? Where's that fucking video? Maybe it's out there. Maybe I missed it. I've never seen a different video of the grub truck. Nope. And what did Idaho State Police do with this? Probably, well, you take a good guess what Chief Fry did. Just my opinion. Okay, let's see how he buried tip number 4768. Let's see how he buried that one. Right, so let's see. Blank, 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 date of birth 1996, lives in Moscow, Idaho, at there. This was sent in by this person of there. She thought he could be violent, and he owns knives. He is also in the National Guard. Idaho State Police Detective Brady Walker telephoned his National Guard contact and got a second address for this person in Moscow. They had no apartment number. The address is a large apartment complex. A vehicle description and license number of a vehicle registered this person was obtained. ISP Detective Cody Herman and I drove by both locations. No vehicle was spotted. The next day, Detective Alderness and I then discussed email tip 4768. Detective Alderson told me that blank blank goes to blank, and he has spoken to her in the past. Detective Alderson telephoned and got M's telephone number. He called her and left a voice message. Blank, blank, and Detective Alderson spoke by telephone later in the week. She had no other information on other than what she called in. During this time, Brian was identified as the primary suspect in the unalivings and later arrested out of state. So we didn't do anything with that tip anymore. Forget it. Tip 4400. This email tip is associated with multiple people. One is a and the other is with a blank email tips. They are all linked to tips. All these are linked to tips. All these. From all the above tips, 4,400, stem from a YouTube medium Donna! Stem from a YouTube medium reading from a Reverend Donna. No. A blank who led some viewers to believe that date of birth 1998, a member of blank's family was somehow involved in the homicides in Moscow. My spirit guides defected from me to this person. Remember, there can only be one real psychic. The blank family used to have a restaurant in Moscow called the which used to be located next to the Mad Greek. The viewers of the YouTube reading who called, emailed in tips believed that the psychic, or believed this person had been involved in the Moscow homicides because he had a fixation with Kaylee. Blank's father, was a at the Okay. Oh, Reverend Donna. Tip number 3638 is a call-in from his mother, blank. I telephoned her back and left a message. She telephoned me back and we discussed the online accusations about her son. She told me that they used to own a restaurant in Moscow, but it had been closed for several years. Her son, had gone to school in Bellingham, Washington, and then had left to blank, good old writing, in Vermont. He returned to Moscow, and then he and his girlfriend had gone on vacation in Thailand before returning to Moscow. He has since moved to New York City and is working there. Okay, so I guess he couldn't possibly have done it. I asked blank to call and see if he would call me. She called me back and told me she had left a message to have him call me back. She also told me that another owner of a restaurant in Moscow had to deal with similar online accusations against her son by people who watched the Reverend Psychic Donna YouTube video, or somebody like her. The restaurant that blank owns is the located there in Moscow. Later that day, I received a telephone call from this person. He told me he had attended college in Bellingham, Washington from fall of 2016 to spring of 2021. He then moved to Vermont to work in the until October 2022. He moved back to Moscow and then moved to New York City after Thanksgiving of 2022. Interesting. He was there during the time frame. He now works manufacturing guitars in New York. He told me he didn't know any of the students that were unalived, and he didn't remember ever seeing any of them or meeting any of them. So I guess, therefore, he's fine. That's all it takes, guys. Nope, don't know him, never saw him. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. Case continues. Some great follow-up work. Good job, Tolson. Did a real good job on that one. Yes, indeed. All right, we'll do one more, guys, 148, and we'll leave it there. Okay, let's see what this one is. December 7th. Okay, we got Kaylee as the victim. We got a 22-year-old white female witness 1. Okay, and we'll see what this is. December 6th, before the wolf, Idaho State Police Senior Detective Tolson was assigned to hand out adult victim background questionnaires by Idaho State Police Detective Joe Lake. I was given several people to contact. One of those was date of birth 2000, who was a friend of Kaylee's. Okay. Yeah. I telephoned this person on December 7th, 2022, and she answered the phone. She agreed to come to the Moscow Police Department at 3:45 p.m. At the police department, she was met by Detective Cody Herman and me. I gave her the adult victim background questionnaire to read and fill out. After she filled out the questionnaire, Detective Herman and I spoke with her going over the questionnaire. Okay, great. This interview was recorded, actually, unbelievable, with her knowledge and permission. She told us that she thought Kaylee was and was rarely in contact with them. Kaylee considered Maddie her closest family member. That's interesting. Blank told us that she thought Kaylee was blank. Okay, it's all blanked out. And was rarely in contact with them. With who? Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, Jack Decor, and Kaylee were still on good terms, good writing, after their breakup. She knew that Kaylee had worked at a strip club, had worked at a blank in Coeur d'Alene and blank in a restaurant in Coeur d'Alene in the past. As far as she knew, Kaylee fully supported herself and paid for all the expenses while going to college. Interesting. All the expenses while going to college. Hey, Steve G. the Mutt, doesn't sound like you paid for anything. Remember? I paid it. Yeah. Steve G. the Mutt, because he was in debt up to his ass, my opinion. Her current job was with an online business who was owned by and She had planned on moving to Austin, Texas, and she had a roommate lined up from the sorority who was going to move in with her. A copy of the AVBQ questionnaire is attached to the supplemental report. I transferred the recorded interview to a disk and copied it for Moscow police. Case continues, and I'm guessing that's what's attached here. Is it? Yeah. Okay, so here's the questionnaire. Let me just see what is anything interesting on here. All right, guys, we're going to do one more, and we're going to leave it here. We're going to do supplement one. All right, let's go 167. I skipped around a little bit. We may go back to some of them, but I want to get on to 167 here. All right, let's see. Witness 1, 24-year-old female. We got all these acquaintances here and a friend. Okay, let's see what this was about, and then we'll call it a night, my loves and lilies. Hey, I hope somebody wins that damn hoodie. All right, let's go. Okay, December 30th, 2022, Detective Sergeant Van Leuven and Detective Jess Stennett interviewed this person, long name, wow, date of birth 1998, regarding her interactions with guess who? With Brian. She said the first time she met Brian was with another PH student named Blank. Blank and Blank are friends who both came to Blank where they acquired their master's degrees. This meeting occurred at the graduate student orientation. Brian came up to them and said she instantly had a bad feeling about him. Oh boy. Blank told Blank how she felt, and Blank said to give him a chance. Oh, we already hate men, so. She said she had confronted Brian early on about the way he was speaking to women. She said she noticed early on that Brian did not like people that were not of his demographic. Yeah, come on. She explained that there are a diverse class of different types of people in their class. So, Okay, well, one day, Brian was being rude. Okay, subjective. One day, Brian was being subjectively rude to a deaf student named. Sorry. Blank said, sorry, she said she called him out on how he spoke to her. She described how Brian's mannerisms also contributed to his rudeness. Sorry, I didn't hear you. What? Knock it off, Master Nature. You know I didn't win last night again at bingo. Don't be pulling no shenanigans. I'm not in the mood for your stupid, cute jokes, all right? She further described that Brian would stare at people in an intimidating way. She said she would avoid sitting next to him in class. She told Koberger that the way he was speaking was condescending, and that he speaks that way to women, and that it made her feel uncomfortable. Several of the students supported her in her rebuke of Brian. Brian responded to her by saying, "I care how you feel, but you are wrong." Okay. Since that incident, she said she felt targeted by him. Aw, because you got your feelings hurt. She became emotional at this point in the interview. Oh, come on, give me a break. She said Koberger has since paid her a lot more attention. Had since paid her a lot more attention. She said Koberger has stood in a way that she couldn't get out of her desk and then started to talk to her. She said Brian would talk to her into the ground about how she was wrong about whatever topic he was interested in. I'm sorry, that's funny. I don't know. Brian would also come into her office and stand in the doorway and would not take any cues that she didn't want to talk to him. How about saying, I'm really busy right now, I can't talk. Or, excuse me, I'm trying to leave my desk. How about opening your fucking mouth? It's like everybody's acting like a helpless 6-year-old child here. Give me a break. Brian would try and talk to her about the Ted Bundy unalivings because he knew she was interested in true crime. He also name-dropped a former professor of his, well, we know who that is, blank. Blank admired blank and wanted to meet her, but not based on her association with Brian. She said if she was going to meet her, it would be because of her own initiative, not based on Brian's favor. She said she was interested in the fact that since the Moscow homicides, some people were comparing them to the Ted Bundy unalivings that occurred at a college sorority, and that Koberger wanted to talk about those unalivings with her. She said Brian studied burglars and their motivations and decision making. The told to start keeping track of Koberger's behavior towards her. And this is where a civil lawsuit would have served Brian well here, because now we're starting a witch hunt. We're starting a witch hunt now behind his back. All right, she made an informal report to the but she didn't like what they she didn't like the way they responded, because she felt that they could not adequately from retaliation. Okay, there you go. There's some good writing again, ISP, Idaho. She said she continued to report her experiences to the dean, I don't know, as well as blank, the program chair, and other professors about feeling unsafe. She said she recently wrote in a graduate questionnaire that she continued to feel targeted and didn't know how to handle the situation. She said they were required a discrimination training because of things that Brian had said unofficially. Brian had asked blank blank if she would be comfortable procreating given the fact that she had a disability. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Sorry, guys. That's not funny. It's not funny. All right. She said she started keeping track of how often he was late. Here we go. Now we have nothing to do in our time. We have nothing to do in our lives. And now we're keeping track of somebody, whether they're late to class or not. Yeah, again, think about that, guys. She said she kept track of the number of times that Brian aggressively stared at her during class. Okay. In one class, she said he stared at her 9 times. And I guess that's all she did during class. She just wrote down that she didn't pay attention to anything going on, I guess. Just him staring at her. I don't know. She described instances of Brian following her after class multiple times. Guys, do you believe this? This sounds really over the top to me, but I don't know. She said, Brian always seems to want to be in the general area of her and others in the program that did not want to have anything to do with him. She talked about blank student, blank female, a blank female named Wanda, who recently had her apartment broken into. She complained to graduate housing, but they didn't help her. Why don't you complain to the police? I don't know. She said Brian took an interest in her. She said the reason this and the other talked to Brian was because they had difficulty understanding English, and they seemed to be the only ones that would continue to talk with Brian. Brian went to the apartment and tried to support This occurred toward the end of October. Wow. Horrible. She said she had the sense that everything Brian does or did was very calculated. She said Koberger is intimidated by her friend Wanda because she stands up to him. When Wanda is around, Brian leaves her alone. When Wanda leaves, Brian then turns around and starts talking to her. She said the way Brian behaves toward her is markedly different when Wanda is not around. She talked about one day when Wanda was gone, and Brian would not leave her alone and prevented her from leaving the class. See, again, guys, why are we... It's like I'm reading about an elementary school here. I'm reading about a fucking elementary school, not a PhD program. Or this girl has got to be one of the most non-assertive people on the face of the planet. Anyway, she said she thought Brian's motivation was gratification he got from controlling her. Oh my God. Is this like Dylan? Is this like Bethany version 2? Only a little older? Oh my God. He wants to be seen as the strongest, smartest, most important person in the room. I think she watched too many movies, guys. She said their class had sat for hours in class, listening to him argue with the teacher about his project. Sure they did. Koberger always wanted to talk about offender decision-making. Koberger gets very defensive when he feels like he is being questioned. On one occasion, Blank had to cut him off when he was going on and on during one of his monologues. Brian responded that he felt it was rude when someone would interrupt him. Yeah. She said, Koberger would use qualifying words in an effort to hide behind saying offensive things. She said one time in November, she found Brian in her office. She felt uncomfortable and left. She shared an office with 3 other people and didn't feel like she should have told him not to be in her office. When she came back, Brian was in M's office with his body turned toward her office. She later said Brian wasn't talking to her about anything important. She said when she came back, he asked her where she had been. She told him it was none of his business. She said Koberger had bloody knuckles at the time. Sure. She said the wounds were, quote, bad. Sure. She said Brian recently started wearing a giant puffy jacket, even in class. She found this odd. Yet, in an earlier document, his very person he's doing teaching assistance for never saw any wounds on Brian. So, yeah, guys. Yeah. One day he has bloody knuckles. Next day, nobody seems to see anything on him. Yeah. Bullshit. This is all crap to me. This is all crap. This is but some really weak, helpless person who acts like a 5-year-old. Oh, my God. She said, Brian said if you were ever to have an S partner, they would have to have no physical or mental disabilities. They would have to be straight and the opposite of gender non-conforming. Yeah, okay. She discussed that offended her, I guess. She discussed her beliefs that school resource officers were used to discriminate against minority population in high schools. She said Koberger disagreed and denied there were any inequalities and said everyone was equal. She felt he was perpetuating the same myths she was trying to bring up. No, he was giving you his opinion about the subject, and just because you didn't like it, you felt all boo-hoo. You turned into the Hobbit. Boo-hoo! I don't like his opinion, because my opinion's right, and his is obviously wrong, so I have to make a complaint now and keep track of his behavior. She said some people in the program thought he might have autism. Yeah. She thought Brian was a narcissist. Aww. By the way, it's the most overused word. Okay. She said Koberger was a vegan. She said Koberger knew she was married because she had brought her husband to a get-together barbecue. Her husband and Koberger had a discussion at the barbecue. After this discussion, her husband told her that he did not like Brian and wanted her to be careful around him. She said she would see Koberger on a daily basis. She said in all the time she had interacted with him, he had never displayed empathy toward another person. Sure. Except helping those other people out who couldn't speak English. She was unaware of any reason for Brian to travel to Moscow or any other local towns in the area. She had heard that Brian was into boxing as a hobby. She said when she first heard of the homicides in this case, she wondered if it could have been him. Sure. She said Brian was the only student in class that believed in the death penalty. Brian asked her if her 12-year-old daughter was if her 12-year-old daughter was assaulted and unalive, if she would support the death penalty. She noticed that Brian was regularly late to classes where a female is instructing and rarely when a male was instructing. Oh, God, here we go with this crap again. She said that on one occasion, Brian expressed to females in the class that once he was in the job market, they would be screwed in competing against him for a job. Oh, my God. She said she wanted to think he was just socially inept. But after knowing him, she believes that Brian always thinks he is the smartest person in the room and has expressed resentment or jealousy at their successes. Oh, wow. Alrighty, whatever. She said Brian is always the first person to express his support of police. She again mentioned her and Koberger's disagreement about the value of SROs in schools. Okay, wow, that must have really upset her. Jeez. Another person's opinion that she couldn't handle. Wow. She said she believed Brian's question about if someone else was also arrested after his own arrest was an attempt by him to throw people off and not that he had a friend or acquaintance. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. She said she had heard Brian had attended a mixer at the that she did not attend. She noted she had been told that he had drank a bottle of wine by himself at this event. Probably because he was socially anxious. Just saying. She said she had not heard Brian discussing knives or how to cover your own tracks at a crime scene. She said Brian had discussed theoretically about burglars. She said Brian is very nosy and tries to look at what other people are texting. She said her friend, blank, had Brian over to her apartment on one occasion and told her that she thought Brian had gone through her medicine cabinet. She said she had not heard Brian. Well, let's think about that for a second, though, guys. Let's think about that for a second. Let's play in the mud. Let's play in the mud a little bit. What if Brian did relapse? What if Brian was going through a relapse? And he was going through her medicine cabinet to check for medicine that he could possibly take, right? To continue on with the relapse. Just throwing it out there. It's mud. But well, that would explain possibly why, if this is true, why he may be going through somebody's medicine cabinet. Maybe he's looking for a particular type of, I don't know, pain reliever. I don't know, just saying. Or whatever else. She said she had not heard Brian talk about offenders studying victims' behavior before committing a crime. She suggested we speak with spelling, ? I don't know how to spell it, do you? Because she felt Brian would have discussed his interest in studying violent crimes. She said Brian committed these unalivings. Wait, whoa. She said Brian committed these, in her opinion, unalivings because he wanted to know what it felt like to commit these crimes in relation to his studies, and ultimately, if he could get away with the crimes, further supporting his belief that he was smarter than others. But yet that would go against his respect of law enforcement, would it not? It would. She said committing these crimes and his need to control others is consistent with his personality. Well, you're not a psychiatrist. It sounds like you are very upset because he didn't agree with your opinions and he didn't give a shit. Okay? That's what it sounded like to me. And you got all hurt because you didn't know how to be assertive. It sounds to me like you're extremely passive-aggressive. And, well, people like that get their feelings hurt quite a bit. All right, nothing further. All right, guys, we're going to leave it right there. Hey, I hope somebody wins a hoodie. I love you all, my babies. We're going to pick it up with 168. I did skip ahead a little bit. 168 is next in the documents we're going to read. Let's set it up. Okay, we got Brian, suspect. We got Kaylee and Maddie listed, the victims. Witness 1, a 22-year-old white male. All right. And what else? Okay, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Blank relationship named Kaylee J. Kaylee J. Witness 2, Moscow, Idaho. Witness 3, Moscow, Idaho. 4, Moscow, Idaho. 5, Moscow, Idaho. 6, Moscow. 7 in Moscow. 8, Moscow. This is from November 15th, 2 days after the event. Witness 9, Witness 10, Witness 11, 12. A vehicle released to owner. All right. And the narrative picks up there, and this is from, okay. This is on November 15th, and we got Detective Sergeant Van Leichlong. That's Dutch again, remember, guys? interviewed some person, date of birth 2000, on several occasions, beginning on the 15th. This supplement adds the audio from those interviews into evidence. Okay, so this person was interviewed several times. Ah, and this one is about Jack DeCour. So Jack DeCour was interviewed several times in this, wasn't he? Hey, we're going to leave it right there, guys, and we're going to see what Mr. Jack DeCour has to say again. Or what's added. All right, love you all, babies. Beautiful dreams tonight, beautiful dreamscapes, okay? And we're getting closer to the weekend. All right, close to the weekend, loves. All right, hope you're having a beautiful night, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, my babies, love you all. Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye.